Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jake. You can also call me Atrocious, and today we've got another round of Swiss in the Japan Finals, the first EB02 format championships. Now, you already know the matchup. Just want to go over a couple quick things. First, I am not the official live stream, so if you want to check out the official live stream, watch the entire VOD, feel free to check that out. But if you want to stay with us, I will be updating this playlist to have more and more matches. I'm covering every single match, unofficial commentary of the championships, the best place, the official best place to get English commentary for unofficial commentary. Commentary. Anyways, before we get into the match, let's hear from a word from our sponsor. Whether you love opening packs or going out to buy singles, make sure to log all your cards on your phone through OP TCG DEX. It's the ultimate companion app for all things One Piece trading card game. Whether you're collecting cards, building decks, or looking to level up your game, this app has you covered. Listen, there's a lot of perks within this app on your phone. If you're like me and don't remember what amounts of cards you have, there's a really easy filter system within the app. And honestly, that's just scratching the surface of this app. You can download this app for free on both the App Store and Google Play Store. But you can also get the pro version of this app free for 30 days just by using my code Atrocious. I mean, honestly, it's a win-win. You get a great app that I use to be able to log my cards, right? And you can do it as well. And you're helping support the channel for free. The download link and instructions to redeem your trial are in the description below. Don't miss out now. Check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments. Now, Vegapunk, an interesting choice, right? That leader not being able to attack, but revolving around the egghead strategy, did gain a new card with the EB02 5-cost Vegapunk blocker. Going to be really interesting to see how it's utilized within this deck and how this deck may have adjusted with that new card, but we'll see if the Swarm with the Activate main can prevail over green-purple Luffy. Looking at the hand, they've got one of those blockers in there right now. Very nice. Also 2K Frankie, right? A 5-cost Egghead Luffy, which is really, really nice, as well as an 8-drop Katakuri and a Lilith. The Luffy, however, over here has a Gum Rain, I think it is, or Jet Gatling, one of those two, the 0-cost event that gives plus 3,000. You've got two Going Marys, a Nami Searcher, and a Sanji. So the Luffy hand not looking awful, right? It just really depends on what the Nami and the different draws from the Going Marys can find. But you got to hope that you pull some good stuff because the Vegapunk is going to swarm the field very, very fast. Going to overwhelm you if you're not careful. Maybe in those searches and draws, you can't find stuff like Sanji, and putting the Vegapunk probably going to be looking for that OP08 Nami SR to be able to KO a 5-cost or less, but we'll just have to wait and see how this goes. Vegapunk starting it off is going to go ahead, use leader effect, play down the Luffy. The Luffy is great to establish, right? Going to be able to swing in the next turn, but also KO something on the opponent's side of the field that they may put down and draw one card. We'll see how early or how late they decide to pop it. The Luffy, however, is going to do a combo of the Going Mary and Nami. I do think that's correctly how you sequence it in that order, but is going to go in with that Nami after that. Quick draw does find a Zoro, which is really interesting. The Zoro can be nice for the next turn. Also gets a nice Robin, Gum Giant, right? Gum Giant, a great card. Maybe thinking about getting another Going Mary at this point, but is just going to go off with a Gum Giant, right? The best kind of just natural draw that you have, being able to give you a ton of counter. Does have an Electrical Luna, so we'll see how impactful Electrical Luna is against a Swarm deck like this. Definitely really good against Doflamingo, but may provide dividends to Vegapunk. Now, Vegapunk on a 3-dawn turn has a choice that they need to make, right? Either they can go in and use leader effect to do Lilith, right? Put Lilith on the field, maybe draw some cards and stuff like that, or they could go and just raw play it down in general. I definitely think using leader effect might be able to do it, but what you could do, depending on how many scientists you play, is you could go ahead and use that leader effect to establish the Vegapunk blocker, and that's exactly what he's doing on play. Look at the top 5 cards, play up to 1 5-cost or lower scientist type character, put the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order, and if you have 2 characters or less, discard 1, or if your opponent has 2 characters or less, discard 1 card from your hand. So with the Nami being the only character on the field, they will have to trash one card after playing down this Pythagoras, right? Pythagoras is a great 6,000 power body that if you have 2 life or less on KO, you could play a character of 4 cost or less, egghead type from your trash rested in with a Frankie already there. If that Pythagoras goes down right now, already got something to be able to play onto the field. So really good start, it looks like, from this Vegapunk at this point, being able to put a blocker out, a couple different bodies, but not opting to swing with the Luffy. I think that's a really curious thing that we've got going on right now. Maybe doesn't want the Luffy to get to 3 life right now. Maybe try to limit what's in their hand, maybe starve them out a little bit. Uses the Searcher event, the 1-drop Searcher event that you've got going on, to look for a specific card. And so is thinking about grabbing that 6 cost Luffy right there. That secret rare is a great card to have in this deck. It's so dangerous in a lot of situations. Might be thinking about playing another Going Merry, right? Just to be able to draw another one, just see as many cards as possible. And that's exactly what he's going to do. Going to draw one off of that on play. Has one more for another Nami, so plenty of searching going on, really setting up the hand at this point to be able to do whatever they want to do. And there's that first Sanji pudding that they found, going to be really, really nice in the next upcoming turn, right, when they want to play that down. That Sanji pudding, the lifeblood of the green-purple Luffy deck, if that can stay established and stay on the field, it's going to pay a lot of dividends for this Luffy player right here. And so with the last Dawn, potentially thinking about swinging 6 at this point, that Vegapunk is a 0 power blocker, so there's not really any saving that Vegapunk if they decide to block, but just decides to hold off. Maybe thinking about, with so many different characters on the field, the possibility of maybe using Gum Gum Giant if they have to. Going to be really interesting. And there goes that Luffy, gets rested right here, swinging 6, going to take this first life, put it in hand, another Going Merry. And then Pythagoras is also going to go in and swing. That's one of the strong points about this deck, right? Being able to play a couple different 6,000 power bodies so early within the first couple turns just really puts a clock on a lot of these different decks, right? You've got that 1-cost Searcher event in hand for the Vegapunk, but with that trigger on that life, taking the second one is going to go ahead and find potentially a Sanji. Nice 2k counter right there. Also a blocker once you get to be able to use your Dawn minusing a little bit and get behind on Dawn. Then with the 3 is going to go ahead, play the Lilith. Lilith going to be looking at the top 5. Going to find some Shakas and Nami. You might want to keep the Nami at this point, because if you keep the Nami, right, and maybe pitch another trigger on the field, you'll be able to respond to that Sanji pudding that they put in the hand in the previous turn on that Nami search. So really nice job putting that right there, and then using the 1-cost Searcher event. Going to be looking at the top 5 yet again for another great card that they're looking for. There's another Luffy right there, and we see a couple other cards. Think there's a York in that stack at the very bottom right there. York, something we've started to see in these EB02 Vegapunk lists, as well as a couple Atlas, right? Atlas can be so valuable in a deck that doesn't have like KO effects. Kind of having that on the field is something that you can expect it to die in battle, but when you're a 2-life leader like Vegapunk, Atlas might be worth grabbing and playing down, but Luffy is going to be the one instead to grab. It's going to be put in hand right there, going to use leader effect to play another character down, and you're going to fill the board on a 5 Dawn turn with so many different 5,000 and 6,000 power characters. Going to have that Luffy just in case something comes down that they need to get rid of, right? We know that these Luffy decks play the 4-drop Zoro, which they just top decked on this turn, could be very, very strong. And so that's a really easy way to be able to pop it, draw a card on top of that, to be able to keep that going, right, and get that board control. The Luffy looking like they're playing the Sanji and pudding right now, and then going ahead using that leader effect, right, to restand 2 more Dawn, get 1 back as active with the Sanji pudding. Now can go in, like I mentioned, and play that Zoro if they want. They are at 5 Dawn, so you're not low enough to play the 6-cost Sanji as of yet, but being a 6,000 power leader could be beneficial, maybe deter this like Lilith from swinging at this point. And so is thinking about just attaching more Dawn to lead and maybe just going in with a big swing, but is going to go ahead, use that Going Merry, especially when you play down Sanji Pudding. You'll always want to have a Going Merry, and especially in this matchup, I talked about how the Nami is really good at KOing the Sanji Puddings. The Going Merry, when you rest that stage, puts 2 cost until the end of your opponent's next turn on one of your characters, so making that Sanji Pudding a 7 cost total right now gets it out of the Nami range, which can be very, very strong. So after attaching 2 and swinging at that, Luffy is going to go ahead and block with the Vegapunk and play another Going Merry, just draw another card. There's an interesting one right there, one that we see from time to time, the 2-drop Tony Chopper. I know that the Tony Chopper was very influential in this tournament, right? A nice 2-drop blocker that helps you re-ramp Dawn. It's going to be interesting to see if we play that down, especially in the face of so many different Luffys, right? Because you can still get the value of getting a rested Dawn from your Dawn deck. The Vegapunk now, though, at 7 Dawn, gonna have to decide about what they want to do at this point. You don't have too many options right now. Can't play that 8-drop Katakuri as of yet. The Nami, right? Like I mentioned, not in range of KOing the Sanji Pudding, and it really feels bad to play that Nami down and just take out like another Nami, right? You definitely want to be able to get something of high value. The Namis are kind of just sitting there right now. They don't really hold any value to your opponent's game plan. So is instead at least going to start going a little bit wider and swing 7 at first. The 7, because you are a 6k leader, right, is just a simple 2k Sanji to get out of that swing. I go ahead, attach another one, swing another 7 with the Luffy. Just, you're not really worried about them getting KO'd, so you might as well just try to eat up a bunch of cards out of the hand of the Luffy at this point. And it's just another Usohachi 2k just out of the hand right there. If you go in and attach more Dawn to your characters, especially if you don't have anything to play down, you don't have anything to put in life, right? Do you just go 2 to the Lilith and then 3 on the Pythagoras, or do you try to even it out a little bit? But before they do anything else, they're going to do another one. Just fetch another 2k in the hand on that 7k Pythagoras swing. Might be thinking about playing the Edison right in life. Maybe you attach 3 to the Lilith, go ahead and swing 8, or maybe you swing 7, right? You can swing another 7, use 1 to put the Edison in life, right? Maybe potentially draw, but decides to go ahead, swing 8, and after taking that life, putting them at 1, just passes off the turn, really trying to feint, I think, at this point, the Please Save Me event, or the, whatever it's also called, Kasar. I don't know. I know it as Please Save Me, but that event is very nice and is something that the opponent is going to have to think about. Finding another Sanji Pudding, this could be huge at this point. If we want to put down the Sanji Pudding right now with the Dawn, we're at 7 Dawn right now. You can go ahead, play Sanji Pudding, use your leader effect to get a whole bunch of Dawn back, right? Essentially 4 Dawn back, and then go in and play Electrical Luna, freeze all of these bodies on the field. And so we'd go ahead and draw, right? The Sanji Pudding with that on play effect replacing itself and getting now leader effect going back up to 6 Dawn that is active. You don't necessarily have enough with 7 to go like Electrical Luna and also the Zoro, but it's still a very strong position for you, and so is going to swing that 7 at the, or I'm sorry, the 8,000 power at the Luffy, going to take that KO. Maybe just wanting to battle the characters and not play the Electrical Luna at this point. Maybe just wants to establish board a little bit more, right? With that Zoro, you know that your opponent has 2 or more characters on the field right now before you do any other swings, so that Zoro is going to have the ability to attack characters on the turn that it's played, right? So you can go in with that Zoro, maybe swing at the Lilith at that point, right? Lilith being 5,000 base, face, and then go in with the leader, swing at the Luffy, right? The other Luffy. Kind of want to dodge the Pythagoras, right? Pythagoras just having that on KO effect is just an annoying sticky body on the field that can provide a lot of issues for you, but is going to at least attach one to leader, boost up the active Sanji pudding, right? You definitely want to do that if you're swinging at lead to avoid any pesky KO triggers, right? There's plenty of them in this deck, like Raigo, the Nami, stuff like that, and it looks like maybe a potential trigger. Not 100% sure what it is right now, but we do know that the active Sanji pudding is a 7 cost while the rested one is a 5 cost. So what could it be right here? Looks like it's gonna be another Pythagoras, right? That Pythagoras is going to help apply a ton of pressure with that. If your Vegapunk is leader, go ahead and play the card, and the Luffy goes ahead, pivots, uses Electrical Luna to keep all of those guys rested, right? Electrical Luna, make sure that all of your opponents rested 7 costs or less do not become active during the next refresh phase. Basically, all you have to worry about is this Pythagoras on the field and maybe like a rush ace if they decide to play it, which is not searchable within this deck. So it's something that they just have to have. The Vegapunk now going into their 9 Dawn turn goes in and swings with Pythagoras. And as you're a 6k leader, it's just a simple 1k the Zoro right there. And so did want to just make sure, hey, is that Sanji a 7 cost right here? Is going to think about using leader effect right now to go ahead, play that Nami. That Nami getting rid of a trigger card. That Atlas right there is going to go ahead and KO that Sanji pudding and only allow 1 right there, and with 3 cards in hand is going to allow them to draw 1 card off of the Nami effect and then go in with the Luffy, draw another card and KO that Nami. Just really clearing the board right now. Using that Katakuri, I like this play, getting rid of both Sanjis and puddings on the field right now. The Katakuri, a great card within these Vegapunk decks, now forces your opponent right at 9 Dawn. They've got to play down another set of Sanji puddings if they want to be able to use that leader effect for free, basically, and regain so much more Dawn. Now, an interesting spot for the Luffy could see something like the Zoro and the Secret Rare Luffy come down. The Secret Rare Luffy coming in first right here is going to go ahead, use the leader effect. You put the 2 Dawn back and restand 2 Dawn. Now you're at 5 at this point. So attaching 1 to your 6,000 power leader, but first using the going Mary at the Luffy, making it an 8 cost, right? Because again, like I said, the different triggers that are potential in this deck goes in and swings at life right here. And so a 7,000 power swing, just going to be a 2k 1k to get out of that one and say, you know what, I wonder if you could go in with the Luffy and go for game at this point. Attaches to and swings 9,000 power right over at lead, putting 2 Dawn active to restand the leader. Is going to go ahead and get a trigger potentially after taking that life. Is it another Edison right there? The Edison would be nice because it allows you to draw 2 trash 2, right? Gets a lot of good filtering, but are you going to be able to grab the exact amount of counter that you need? That's the real question, right? Is the 2k more valuable in your hand? And it looks like they go ahead and concede right there, conceding it off. And the green purple Luffy gets the win. Loved seeing the Vegapunk. Definitely love having that. Missed it since we saw it in OP08 in the red purple law dominated meta. But the Vegapunk player confident enough and starting out 2-0, I believe, in this tournament, confident enough to bring it to the Japan National Championships, or Japan Finals, I guess I should say. Now, we don't have the exact Vegapunk list that came from this tournament. That's not public as of right now, but this is typically what a Vegapunk list in EB02 has looked like from what I've seen. Right, the introduction of this Vegapunk being able to play one of your scientist characters on the field. You really go in more with the scientist type package, right? being able to play a 5 cost or less from your top 5 on the very first turn of the game allows you to play cards like Lilith, the Edison, Shaka, Pythagoras, York, and also the Atlas, right? So many different options to consistently be able to play down in this deck. You've also got other just generically good yellow cards, right, that actually synergize well, very, very well with this list, right? Luffy is one of those, right? We see this a lot in black yellow Luffy and a little bit in Enel, especially in the Doflamingo dominated meta, right? 4 costs are very, very nice to be able to consistently get rid of. Nami, like I mentioned, again, very popular in Enel. Just really, really good being able to draw a little bit, KO a 5 cost as well, maybe get rid of an unneeded card in your hand. And then Raigo, just really, really nice. I mean, if you have Vegapunk, right, you're already a 2 life leader, you could go ahead and play Kingdom Come or Raigo at any point essentially in the game, right? As long as you can pay that 6 cost, you probably only have 1 life card left at that stage of the game. So it's so easy to be able to just get off and do. Vegapunk, very, very cool in my opinion. Oh, they had the Katakuris as well, so they probably did not run S-Snake. I know that's kind of like a fringe card at some points. So this is probably a little bit more likely of what they played in my personal opinion. Probably took out the S-Snakes and maybe 1 York, I would think, and just played maybe 3 of the Katakuris. Your idea is swarming the board, right? That's what you want to do. So since Katakuri is the only card that you really can't find at all within the deck anyways, you just play it as a nice 3 count, right? You're probably going to end up finding 1 in the game just naturally from either Edison draws, Nami draws, or the Luffy. And also, I guess, Frankie too. Frankie being able to be played and draw 1 card. Also just a generically good yellow card that synergizes as well with this deck. Now again, this isn't an exact deck list, but especially from what we've seen in the different lists, and especially the video where I went over 14 different deck lists for the Luffy, this is probably decently around what we saw in the match. The guarantees that we know, right? Sanji putting as a 4 of the Going Merry, this secret rare Luffy that came out of EB02, right? EB02 having several influential cards within this deck. We saw at least 1 Robin, definitely probably played 2 or 3 of them. I would say probably more so on the 3 side, right? Especially with the Tony Choppers that are in the list. If you want to do that Dawn -1 with the Robin, you want to have plenty of options to be able to play in your next turn, including the Tony Chopper, which can help you re-ramp that Dawn that you put back. Nami, a great 1-drop searcher, an automatic always 4 of in this deck. Gum Gum Giant, very, very nice. Uso Hachi, just one of the best purple 2Ks in general, it seems like. And Zoro Juro, right? Zoro Juro being really nice. Your deck being primarily purple allows you to find pretty much anything within your deck that you play. The only ones that you can't really find are the Nami and this Zoro, which is also a great card, right? Being able to rest a 4 cost or less as a 4 cost is already so good, especially in many matchups. But if your opponent has 2 or more characters, you can attack any character on the turn that this is played. So really good in other Swarm decks, right? Could have been nice in Vegapunk if they didn't have so many Luffys on field to be able to pop it so easy. But again, something like Doflamingo, right? What are they going to do? Just put it back in your hand with the starter deck Law? All right. You'll just play it again next turn and once again get a Karita Coliseum like Pseudo Rush. One of the cards that I'm not 100% sure about that I personally enjoy, but I know is very on and off in here, is the Luffy Taro, right? Luffy Taro with that on play effect, right, can be so nice to be able to play something like Sanji putting on the field, right? On your 7 Dawn turn, you go ahead and play this down. Now you've got a 7,000 and 8,000 power body on the field as you're bringing back Dawn, restanding Dawn, etc., etc. Can be a really, really nice combo if you get it off. And also you've got Gum Gum Giant, right? The only downside to playing something like the Luffy Taro is that you really have a lot of bricks within this deck, right? Gum Gum Giant, if you don't have any Dawn up, is a brick in your hand. The Searcher event, the 1-drop Searcher event, a brick in your hand. The Going Merry, a brick in your hand. Monkey D. Luffy, Secret Rare, a brick in your hand. Zorojuro, a brick in your hand. Sanji Pudding, a brick in your hand. You have a lot of non-counter cards in this deck, so it can be very scary, but this deck being so quick and being able to manipulate just causes a lot of problems for a lot of decks and really prevails outside of that despite having such little in that category. And that's going to be it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. Remember, like I said earlier, we will be putting all of the Japan final rounds and commentaries within this playlist that I've got on my channel. You should check it out, especially so you don't miss a beat. And the Swiss rounds are going in a little bit out of order, I will say. I'm putting 2 videos out of this tournament every single day. And if you see this one up here, by the time this video airs, it won't have the members first. But if you're a channel member, I'm going to try to get these done as fast as possible because I've got basically a free Sunday to make all of these videos, or as many as possible, if you want to be able to see them early before they release, because I can only release so many at once because then YouTube will absolutely destroy my channel if I put too many out at one time. Make sure to go to the channel and hit the join button for the membership if you want to join that. It's basically like a Twitch subscription. Helps me out a ton, right? Especially in the aspirations of trying to do this full time. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you appreciated this video. Let me know your thoughts of these decks, and I'll see you later.